I realized that I couldn't just tab through my little OBS things without it actually starting. So whatever, starting 2 minutes early. Who cares? Probably wasn't good to keep you guys waiting too long anyway. Alright. So, what we are going to be doing today with this design stream is we are going to first be starting with just a fun little Tears of the Tarnished Blood ego. That way we're doing something fun and content-based to start off. And then we are going to move over and do beta releases, look at the new leveling chart, and more importantly, the progression reworks. So, decide between revised milestones and feats, and how exactly we're going to implement those. Because while I like the implementation stuff I've gotten done so far, I think it needs a bit more adjustment too. Stuff like this is due for a bit of a change. Minor improvements would probably still be reworked a bit with feats, but I think the general consensus is they should stick around even with feats. So, let's move on to Tears of the Tarnished Blood. So we are going with Hong Lu's variant. Sinclair's is cool, but Hong Lu's is more unique and iconic for obvious reasons. So, notes I've got here: a self-sacrifice ego, does very little on use, but allows a follow-up on defeat, just like the Limbus version. This is reducing you to 0 hit points, but not actually killing you for a narrative sense. And I don't think I want to have it, like, nullify revival or anything. You can revive afterwards, but I do want to make it ignore things that would make you not die, if that makes sense. So, like, the defibrillator effect from AEDD would not save you in this instance. Follow-up is strong, probably a little stronger than most VOVs, but not completely overwhelmingly strong. It should be a good payoff for being willing to sacrifice yourself, but not so powerful that it just invalidates the combat once it goes off. High emotion point cost, low light cost. This is something you'll be definitely wanting to be using later in the fight when you're already on your last legs. So having you need to save a bunch of light for that would not contribute much towards good strategies. And then big buff from Flower Wedge. I'm kind of disappointed by the Flower Wedge in Limbus. Unbreakable Coins is nice, but that and a little bit of offense level is not really worth it. And then I think I want to give it a little bit of Thorn's ability too. It just feels right with how spiky it is, and I want more Thorns stuff. And probably some Fragile as well. So, let's start. So, I think so this first use is basically just going to be, I think, an immediately deployed counter die. I'm thinking similar to Claim Their Bones. Immediate use if you want, or you can save it. That way, it's similar to the Limbus version where you're not actively attacking, but you still get something out of it and you get a bit of clashing. Yeah. Too light, I'm seeing in the chat, and I think that's about right too. Emotion points. Let's see, let's reference stuff like Blind Obsession. I think I'm gonna split the skill and ego library, by the way, because it's getting pretty long. So like, these are A-lifts, and they're in the 20 range. Everlasting, pretty high. Yeah, I'm thinking on the high end, so maybe like 17. Let's see. I think I want the flower-bearing wedge. Yeah. Looking at it, I think I want it to be on use. In special status flower wedge. Get the little icon there. And let's see, how is this written in To Claim Their Bones? Oh, I skipped it. I was looking at chat. Oh, it's not even an on-use effect. It's written... Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So, change that to counter pierce. I think I want... Flower-bearing wedge, I think, is gonna give a pretty substantial bonus. So it doesn't need to be too strong, because it'll be getting that. So let's say 1d10 plus 2. That'll make it strong, but not overwhelming, when you consider the wedge. And after use... Let's see. Actually, I think I want to add a check to this. Check our +1 for every 30 missing HP. So that'll... It's uncapped because HP is kind of capped in its own right. But I think that'll let it get very strong without being overwhelming. Which is kind of the whole thing I've been repeating this whole ego creation. And then... Let's see. I think I want thorns here. In 1 thorns for every 30 missing. So this is very much like a finishing move thing. So I think missing HP is a good idea. And then I think that's about it for the main ego. It's not worthwhile on its own, but with status and the follow-up, I think it'll be pretty strong. Yeah. Let's see. Lose... How much HP to lose on turn end? 10 feels too little. Can Honolulu's version, does that kill him outright, or does it just put him to 1? Oh, wait. Wait, does it not hurt him? Is it just Sinclair's version that hurts him over time? Huh. I thought it continued to... I mean, Tarnished Blood... Oh, wait. Gain at 3 stack, Gain 1 tarnished blood. Okay. So... yeah, I think I just want it to... I think I just want it to do damage on its own. I don't want to have 2 statuses here. Okay. 15 might be good. It is half of what this is about, so maybe that keeps it a little consistent. And I think here's dice. Plus 2 power. Blunt. Slash. Dice. 1 power. Stop! My fingers. Defensive. Dice. So that should be very strong, just on its own. And then, because this is a pretty strong effect, I don't think I need too much for the ego passive. So... his passive... key. Not resist. Defeated. Ongoing skills. Ended. Use tarnished. Let's see if I can't condense this down, because it's a little longer than I thought it would be. Yeah. I feel like... honestly, making this... making it have you take more damage might be an interesting thing. Negative, benefit, ego passive. Because I think all the on-death stuff I want to just put as part of the second skill. There we go. I could also, like, fix position on page. And have this be like that. There we go. That takes up a lot of the space up here that was going unused, and so that lets me spread this back. Oh yeah, that's an interesting idea. Who said that? Han. Yeah, your little idea of treating targets as if they have +1 to their affinity is pretty good. And now it's long. It's yin long. Ho ho ho. Okay. So now Tarnished Bloodfall. So that's Tears of the Tarnished Blood, the end, just with a shorter name. Get a little more damage the longer you have the ego up. I don't think I want to really do that. Yeah, it doesn't really do much other than inflict rupture and do more damage. So let's... Since this is a free attack, I don't think I want it to really actually have a huge amount of clashability, if that makes sense. I think if the enemies do have some remaining dice, especially since you're essentially not taking hits in return, so it doesn't matter if you lose clashes or not. I think 3 weak hits and then 1 final big hit is how I want to do this. So let's grab just a slash die here. Wait. There we go. It's about 2 pierce. I could actually make this a bit weaker since you have +2 pierce die power. Let's do 3 thorns, since Pneumatic is actually keeping the thorns. Boom. Boom. And the final. Boom. I think that looks good. You know what? You're sacrificing yourself to do this. Too fragile. Let's grab, where's some fragile? You. Oh. So, if they clash into you with offensive dice, they'll be taking a bit of damage in return still, so that's good. And maybe if you have some weird thorns passives going too, it could help. But you don't really get to keep the thorns. Okay, and then after use, needed. That's 3. Boop. And let's get a status list triggers revival. So, revival still works. Revival isn't as strong as it may appear at first, so I think it's fair to allow you to come back after that. Especially since you're not going to be spamming it again, because you revive with 0 emotion points. So, getting up to 17. Do you, actually? Doesn't say anything about emotion points, actually. I guess you do keep the ones you have built up. Yep. Yeah, symbols. I have looked into shrinking the symbols, but there's just so many of them, I don't want to go and do that manually. I know it's a big problem the more I let it go, but it also is just good for visibility. The whole point of the symbols is to be easily visible, and if they were tiny, it would lose a bit of clarity. So I think I'm gonna keep the symbols in their weird size for the moment. But if I was putting this in like an actual PDF or something, yeah, I'd totally make sure the font size and the symbols are not getting in each other's way. Okay. Is that it? I could... this gives attack power down to all enemies when they die. I'm going to say... inflict feeble on all... So this will debuff allies, but you just did a bunch of big hits. This is very likely to trigger towards the end of a scene. So I think that's fine. I think I like the idea that just everyone's in shock of what happened. That's kind of the thing with this ego, is like witnessing the death of a divine entity, which is kind of what the Crying Tears is supposed to be. So I think it works well. Yep. So, yep, this is indeed Feng Lu's Tarnished Blood. So, yeah, this should sort of get across the idea of everyone's just in shock of what happened. So, with that, that did not take quite as long as I thought. I guess I just had most of my ideas ready to go compared to what I did when I made Crossbound Past. Yeah. Yeah, I think this seems solid for like a self-sacrifice ego. I was a little worried that it would turn out in a way that either made it, why would I ever use this, or it would make it too strong, but I think we've found a good balance here. Okay, so let's go on to the progression rework. So, I have some opinions on this that I haven't written down yet, so I can talk about that. Basically, let's go over the leveling chart first. There's not too much to talk about. Basically, I've essentially taken D&D 5e's progression at levels 5, 9, 13, and 17. You get your major improvements. They are now perfectly evenly spaced. And you have, let's see, yep, just longer, more spread out, but also more dense in spare modules, so intellect builds shouldn't be too overwhelming. Including, with the rework, I might even need to make intellect better if we choose feats. Yeah, major abilities were shifted up, basically just to make the pattern a bit more consistent. I tried to stay away from D&D's level system, make my own thing, but for all 5e's faults, I do kind of like their leveling chart. Well, thing is, intellect is very good, but if we get rid of its milestones, then it won't be anymore. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. And with, yeah, so stat buffs, yada yada, goes to 20. Total skills, improvements, improvements will be getting some changes no matter what. It should still look, very similar, but I think, just some tweaks to, like, especially these two, will probably be changed to include, like, the feats and stuff. Make them a bit more interesting, maybe. Yeah. I think... So, I have been thinking of the sort of major improvement trap that you're talking about. Max light and additional speed die are definitely very, very good. They are intended to be. But I do think it can be a little unfortunate if people don't realize how good they are. Like, if you choose one of these two and you know what you're getting into, that's fine. That's just an alternative build. But I do think... Yeah. I considered spreading it out into guaranteed spots of its own thing, but I don't know how I'd exactly do that in a way that feels satisfying. Yeah, feats is definitely what I'm looking towards. But even some stuff from feats would probably be brought over into milestones if I choose that. Just some of the little smaller reworks. Feats is what I'm gravitating towards, though. So... yeah, it's less about, you know, putting it in and more, where do I put it in? And yeah, essentially just having, like, it be split up into its own thing, separate from major improvements. It's kind of weird. I don't want to give both of them at the same time, because that's too great of a leap. But I also... yeah, essentially it would just be split up in a weird way from everything else. Milestones are cool. I do like the idea. It's kind of my baby, but I'm thinking feats just works better. Yeah, the question of what replaces them is an interesting thing. Yeah, you can mock up a version and send me. I think that would be an interesting idea. Get some more opinions. If you could get it before the end of the stream, that would be nice, since we're trying to decide a lot of this stuff here. Let me change the music now that we're out of Tears of the Tarnished Blood. Oh, not the thing I wanted to. Oof. VGO. Please. Backstreet story thing should be fine. Save. Let me. Oop. Okay. So, yeah, I do like getting rewarded for focusing on stats. That is something that I do like. It's just, it works a bit funky when I'm trying to make it, choosable. They have such different balances and everything. It just feels like a feat system, but more convoluted. Yeah, feats are just easier to expand upon, easier to balance. It can be a bit of like a option soup sort of thing. Um, but I think keeping weirder feats to like their own expansion books can kind of help them. Yeah. Uh, but I do think it is generally a lot easier to comprehend, a lot easier to build around. Uh, so, let's see. Let's... Yeah. I don't want to do both fully because I feel like that's just way too many passives. That's one of the reasons I'm not liking milestones at the moment, is it's just so many passives that even if a lot of them are just basic stat increases, it's pretty hard to track. And I don't want to have a bajillion little bonuses here and there. Especially if we're keeping minor improvements as well. Yeah, more focused things as well, because generally I didn't want to make a whole lot of milestones that were built around specific statuses, except for intellect, which is supposed to be like you're making like weird inventions or stuff, figuring out weird ways to use statuses, but with feats, I think I can add status-focused stuff more easily. I don't have them at the moment, because I do want to focus on just core stuff first. Yeah. Yeah, it would be a shame to see milestones go. Yeah, that is a good point, Scorch. It is a bit more focused milestones, a bit more focused for when you're at character creation. Yeah, more feats than minor improvements. That's not a bad idea. Uh, well, I don't know. Power parity. Yeah, I'm not entirely certain, actually. Yeah, more feats, there absolutely would. This is basically just me trying to figure it out. Uh, One thing I'm not sure of with feats, though, is where to put the extra light regen and speed dice. Because... Oh, but... I... Oh, it might be a bad idea, but... I mean, most high-level builds would... Why am I there? I need to be... Oh, let me chart. If I just made major improvements into +1 speed die or +1 light regen, and you just get them there instead of from stats, it would work. I just am worried about how that would kind of translate to the rest of the system. Everyone having 3 of each by the end could get out of hand. Yeah. Oh, hey Prior. Good to see you here. I saw you've been sticking around chatting about the system every now and then, so I am glad that you liked it enough to stick around. Let's see. Yeah, posted the mockup. Let's try and find where you did that. Let's see. Where'd you post it, Ham? Is it... No, not Homebrew Forum. Is it just in the doc you've already sent me before, or... Oh, in chat itself? I'm not seeing any link. It might... Oh, there we go. Yeah, my chat, YouTube chat might have blocked your link. Yeah. Yeah, I think having everyone get the light regen and speed dice at the same time feels a little weird. Just because it's a bit too uniform across everyone. I like people having that choice. Yeah, I can see the idea. My main problem is, yeah, the symmetry of it, and but I do think I like having the choice. I just think having the other choices does indeed kind of make things a little difficult. Yeah, speed die is generally a bit better. That is true. But I kind of have built a lot of the system around that asymmetry. And I have intentionally made ways to work with either the asymmetry of speed dice or light. Yeah, it definitely isn't completely fair in that sense. An extra speed die, while I have tried to make it balanced, is generally, yeah, a bit better. I do speed? No, speed or yeah, if I just have the major improvements be these two, and then these two later, that might just be, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I want to, like, split them up. Just have these two be the 5 and 9, and then the other two be the 13, 17. But all that really is like a guideline for newer players. It's just restricting experienced players who might want to go with something weird. Yeah. Yeah, it is a weird system, and it is weird to balance for. I do generally get what you're saying. I just don't feel like the solution is quite as simple as unifying things, because uh, it just feels way too symmetrical. You're going from, if you have a party of four speed dice on your side, to 8. And I prefer having it be more along the lines of going from 4 to 6 and then 8. And having that sort of alternation. Yeah, I think. Hmm. Yeah. I think as troublesome as it is, it's definitely a bit of a messy thing. I think the ideal here is not to change these. I think the ideal here is to change the last two, and make them more appealing compared to these two. Because it's certainly not ideal, but in a system this weird, where balance is very dependent on how you're building, sometimes you just gotta accept that some things are a little less ideal than others. Yeah. So, I do want to tie at least one of these, if we're doing feats, tie it to that. Um, and I can also look at some other stats in your character sheet and see how I want to change those. Um, you know what? There is a mechanic I've been thinking of that's basically like a reverse, uh, reverse injuries and anxieties. Basically, I've been thinking of some sort of like excellence resource or something that you can gather, and you basically use it as a reverse injury or anxiety to lower a die when doing skills or attempts and stuff. So maybe tying something into the major bonuses could be good. If we go back to leveling chart, adding like start each mission with 4 excellence could be interesting. And then like we say like gain a feat or whatever. So like if we add stuff like that onto both of them, they could be interesting. This is just me spitballing ideas here. Uh, I don't think this would be exactly how it goes, but the general idea is putting more onto these things. And also, I think battle abilities, a lot of the archetypes now, uh, especially the early archetypes, were built with the idea that you're only passive to start out, and that's not going to be true anymore, no matter which we choose. So I do want to make a lot more like better, more interesting battle abilities for these archetypes, and move some of the current battle abilities to feats if we do that, or milestones if we do that. So making more good options for battle abilities could be very useful. You can see that, Ham? Uh, but I think part of what you'd be taking it for is to get a very specific feat when you would need it, essentially. So, like, once you get to 6, you can take the +2, gain the feat, and get it, like, an 8 very early. That makes sense? Vengeful's battle ability is bad. Interesting. I know it's not, like, incredibly strong, but I felt like it was at least decent. I didn't really get to use it, but that's because I had aggro when I played Vera. Or didn't have aggro, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I think... I do think, out of everything, stuff like these are troublesome, because I do want to continue having these optional, like, extra speed dice or extra light regen abilities. But honestly, I might just have them be a bit more conditional, if that makes sense. Like, don't have just a pure +1, and have them be a little more on the conditional side, like from, opening 2 scenes, or from scene 3 and onward. Stuff like that could be interesting. Yeah, formal education would probably just be axed completely, to be honest. I can probably come up with something a lot more interesting now. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I, yeah. I could also just try and make feats just generally good, and so you might just want to keep, might just want to stay away from the adepts feats and stuff, just because you can just try and do more with what you have instead of going for these, but I don't feel like that would fully be doable. These will always kind of be pretty good. I could also... Should I level gate these? I don't know. I feel like having them be tied to stats is better, more interesting. Yeah, skill requirements, I definitely tried to decouple a lot of these that I originally had. I do still want some of them to be tied to stats, but I think... Yeah, the stat gate's fine, yeah, kinda thinking them too. Yeah, stat check feats, I definitely want to do less than I originally was going to, but I do want to keep some of them to keep, you know, guide builds and stuff. Um, but I do want to keep a lot of generalist feats open that I didn't have before. Feats that are practically modules shouldn't be there, like Finisher. Actually, that's kind of the intent, is to get rid of the modules that are there, because I feel like Finisher just feels a little weird, and I prefer it to be just a general ability you have, rather than part of one of your skills. If that makes sense. And I also have, like, some of the same for ego stuff. Ego passives that I didn't really like them being ego passives, and I wanted to replace with different ego passives that were better and more interesting. So, like, where is... So, like, Singular Strike and Steady Pace are being feat or milestone-ified, but I have, like, a different speed-focused, ego passive that I'll be adding pretty soon. Yeah, I felt like Finisher just felt a little awkward. A lot of on-kill stuff is pretty awkward, but at least fill specific niches, but Regain One Light is just so ubiquitous, is probably the word I'm looking for, that I think it's better to just have that on all of your skills, and have that just be a thing you do. Let's see. I'm catching up on a bit of chat. More speed-focused modules and uniques? Yes, I had a few ideas for that. It's still a hard mechanic to come up with, especially since speed is not as important as I kind of thought it would be when I was making the system. Um, Level gate helping build diversity, I can see that. I could level and stat gate them a bit, and have them both be, like, kind of moderate. Make them not, like, super high, but high enough that you need to wait a bit. But yeah. Yeah, speed control things, getting back to that, is pretty hard to come up with. A lot of what I've done in the system so far is stuff like, lasso ego. Where is that? Whatever. Yeah, lassos. Field stagger based on bind on target. Less about the bind itself and more of using it as a way to deal stagger, which, you know, is still a neat thing, but it's not the main. Does not play into the vibe of speed control very well. Yeah. Yeah. Lasso ain't bad, but it's more of a little extra bonus rather than something that really fulfills what you're trying to do. Yeah, a lot of bind stuff, that is true. I think going more for haste could be good. I do have, I don't want to show my whole working doc, but I do have, like, one of the ego passives I was talking about is, let's see. I'll just paste this in here for a bit. This is the ego passive I was thinking of for speed. It only really works for poise, but I might have alternative versions for, like, charge, maybe, I don't know. Something like this. Just focusing on, like, how high your speed dice roll initially could be interesting. Does incentivize having more speed dice even more now that I think about it, but we'll cross that bridge later. But, you know, that's the general idea of what I want to do for speed-focused stuff later. Stuff like that. Anyway. Back to... Where's my chat? There we go. Yeah, more flat mods and stuff could be interesting. Yeah. I do think if I make more, like, GM-focused stuff, I do think I want to talk about, like, how tactically do you run enemy encounters. Early on, I'd say not very tactically, but as you go later and later into the game, you kind of get more permission from me to be mean and try and really challenge your players. There are some Aleph egos already in the game, John. There's not a huge amount, but... anyway. Yeah, anyways, for a beginner to learn the system, well, you're in luck. I, have a YouTube channel, and I have tutorials on the YouTube channel. Some of the information is outdated, but you should be able to learn at least the basics, and if you want an example of actual play, you can go over to Cinefon's channel. My most recent video has a link there, and you can watch me play along with Cinefon and the 5th Trumpet crew, and that should also help you get a little idea of what's... Library of Ruina egos? Yeah, there's a few Library of Ruina egos that are Aleph. There's, let's see. If I just search Aleph, how many are there? Oh, that's... Twilight. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. Alright, so there's 4. Oh, yep, there is also the Discord channel. Probably should have talked about that too, because that is very helpful. The folks over in the character building section will really help you. Yeah, feats opening alternative playstyles of, like, combo statuses and stuff could be interesting. I generally want to keep them a little more general use, but some of those more specific cases could be very interesting too. But that's more about building the system itself. So, getting back onto the choice of making a decision. I think we have decided. I think I'm deciding I am going to keep major improvements more or less how they are, just make these two better. Let me take this away because that's not in any way finalized. That's just ideas. Yeah, Cinefon's channel is very much focused on his actual live play series. So a lot of time commitment if you really want to get into it, but that one shot is pretty accessible. Lost and Found giving 2 innate rank 2s. I think it's mostly fine. I think other battle abilities just need more. I think because a lot of what the Forgotten does is just it's not a lot of just direct powerful stuff. Alarm is really the only thing that makes you directly more powerful in the combat besides the rank 2 modules. So I think it's fine. I think I just need to give cooler shit to the other archetypes. Let's see. I keep just tabbing through things. I've noticed that habit recently as I've been working on this system, is when I don't know what I'm really doing at the moment, I'm just kind of thinking, I will tab through whatever I've got. I'm sure it is very annoying. I think... yeah, so... yeah, an immediate power spike is true. I might level gate one of them. Oh, you think Egoist should get the boosts earlier? Interesting. I've kind of felt like Egoist... it might have just been at the start of the game when everyone really wanted to use their ego-wielding OCs, but I feel like Egoist was, like, the most desired battle ability, especially. I've been thinking of nerfing it slightly for a while, just to make it so that it doesn't trigger the first scene. But I've never really had too much complaints about it, so I'm keeping it as it is for now, and with me buffing other battle abilities, I think it should be fine. Yeah, I do want some... I did notice that emotion points did not gain... Bleh. Emotion points did not build up as quickly as I thought they would, even having 2 speed dice. So, I believe, did I buff, the emotionally charged, no, I did not. I might do that. I might make this cost-based instead. Direct costs, so, like, yeah, I might. I'll do that later, if I feel like it. Interesting. Never once been in a situation where even a he could fire off. Yeah, then I'll probably buff this at some point. Yeah. Yeah. Poison charge are definitely pretty powerful. Um, yeah. Alright, I need to take a quick break just to get like a cough drop and get a bit more water. I will be back in about 5 minutes. I will see you all then. And wow, we have like 30 people hanging out. That's nice. Good to see you all. See you soon. Wait, wrong screen. Let me bring you to the actual right one. Okay, we are back. And it seems like chat has been searching for the worst ideas for this system. Uh, uh, Fraction-based damage. Roll a d5. D1s! Ban even dice sizes. Remove the system as a whole. Yeah. Okay. So, let's take this. Get rid of this. I don't need that anymore. So, decisions. Let's decide what we want to do. Progression rework. So, let's just get rid of the wiki tab for now. Keep major improvements. Buff third options. Okay. Buff archetype battle abilities at some point. Official fishing minigame. Honestly, that could go somewhere in a in the downtime activities. Let's see, buff battle abilities at some point. I have heard that people want a little more from level 20, but I'm not sure exactly what I'd want to do. And then so generally the main benefit of milestones is just mostly that it's interesting. There are definitely some like mechanical system benefits to it, but I think the general consensus is feats is generally more usable, cleaner, more concise. So while it's a little more boring and has a little less character, I think I'm going for feats. However, let's get rid of that bit, because I do think we are keeping minor improvements, just reworking them slightly. Is this agreeable to everyone, or do you have very strong opinions about revised milestones that you still think need to be set? Do feats. Definitely seeing some feats support. Opinions not strong enough. Fair enough. Strong opinions, but you've already heard them. Yep, fair. Yeah. I do like the character of Milestones, and I think stats will definitely need some adjustment with them gone. But I think feats is just a lot cleaner to work with. You picked Team Milestone and are too stubborn to admit that both are fine options. Yeah, I prefer the idea of milestones, but feats are fine too. Yeah. I think feats also work a bit more with some ideas I have for the expansions. So it is just a lot more expandable. I do not know how I would write like expansion milestones with them being so scattered. Yeah, the stats definitely will need some adjustments. Main ones are might probably fine. My milestones were not super great and were just kind of hard to track. Um, Vitality should also be pretty fine. Agility, however, will need a little bit more. I can probably put stuff on the even levels. Intellect, I'm thinking might, instead of every point being a tier 1 or rank 1, I think there'll be like its own little chart, and each time you up your intellect, you get another one. So it'll be sort of a toned down version of what already exists. Essentially just, the first 3 ranks are tier 1s, then you get like a tier 2, maybe another tier 1, tier 2, whatever, and then like at 8 you get an extra tier 3. So you're still getting essentially the same benefits, just a bit less. Which I think, given how strong intellect has been said to be, would be very good. Yeah, I don't know if I want to make it base speed or not. Because I feel like I want to keep speed values a little smaller, but I guess the farther along you go in the system, the more speed dice are going to be on the field, and so it might be good for tracking reasons to try and have the range be bigger and avoid ties. So I'll figure that out. And then instinct is a weird one because it is kind of a good stat on its own without the milestones, but also can feel so empty as well. I might just make instinct, like, instead of every other rank, just be every rank, and so your light will just be 2 plus instinct. I mean, that's not a terrible idea. Leaves more room for other minor improvements and stuff. Explosive canister module nerf. I haven't tested it out too much, so I don't know if it's fully in need of a nerf or not. The blaze buffs might have pushed it a bit too far, but yeah, more light is valuable, but the benefits are so spaced out. That's what I'm thinking. Don't really like that for instinct. Interesting. I don't think it would completely replace the minor improvements, but I do think it would open up more room. But I could also see it just giving you way too much max light. Yeah. I'm seeing what you're putting down. Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum. Yeah, early turn's too explosive. Yeah, fair enough. And then Persona? Persona is weird. Being able to get your ego out faster is obviously great. But I feel like there should still be incremental benefits beyond that. Though, if I'm doing excellence, or whatever I want to call that mechanic, I could tie it to this as well. Like half your persona in excellence at the start of every mission. So that you have, like, a little bit of a resource to say, no, I'm succeeding this, I can't afford to fail. but it's not so much that, like, you need to build Persona to succeed in narrative play. So that could be interesting. Persona should be tied to narrative play a bit. It does feel like the narrative stat. Yeah. +1 to the value of your speed dice or the number of your speed dice, because that's a very big difference. But I assume you probably mean the value. That could be interesting. Have that be your source of flat bonuses. That's not a terrible idea, but it feels a little odd to me. But I do kind of like the idea of splitting them. Yeah, value. Got it. Yeah. That is a possibility. I did consider tying it to speed somewhat, so that could be interesting. More ways to get emotion points, similar to Runa, like a min-max roll on kill, etc. Yeah, possibly. Probably not as a general mechanic. I think that would add a lot to track. Ooh. Tragic flaws being a way to give excellence actually could be pretty interesting. That is a good idea. Thank you, Iromo. So, I think at this point, we're saying beats, keep minor improvements, stat changes might fine? I'm gonna put a question mark there. No, wait, it's not endurance, it's vitality. All these different names for the same thing in different systems. Vitality is fine. I might make that first point of vitality also give you some resistance, but other than that, it's whatever. Agility needs buffs? No current idea though. Intellect scaled down for milestones. Instinct. Fine. Maybe. Speed. Persona. Narrative. Okay. I think this looks good. And then the question is, where do we put feats? Height could be changed to give affinities. Vitality. I do want to try and tie might to damage more, because that is kind of how it's supposed to be, but it's kind of hard to do that without having, like, what it had before with just the +1 damage, or +1 to your offensive dice, and it's just a little weird. Yeah, I see what you're getting at there, Roxas, but I don't think it quite works in my head. I might do like I did with, or like I'm doing with some of the others, and just putting something on might that makes it a bit better. I'm just not entirely sure what. Yeah, I mean, interacting with affinities, do you mean interacting with the enemy's affinities? Because that's very different from, like, your own affinities. If it's your own affinities, then might is still being defensive. Yeah. Passive EP generation per turn could be nice if I do it in small amounts, because I don't want to step on the egoist's toes. Um, hmm. Enemy affinities, okay. Yeah, that can be a little harder to track, though. But I do kind of like the idea of busting through enemy defenses. Um, yeah. Hmm. Interesting ideas. Yeah. Interacting with enemy affinities might... But then that's still something like the DM and the player both still kind of have to remember. Yeah, I mean, might would be connected to a few gated feats, like a... Let's see. Singular Strike, I think I untied from Might, just because it also has connections to, like, Dex or Instincts thematically, and I just didn't want to give it to all of those. But, like, Puncture, that's partially a Might thing, partially an Agility thing. Cornered Fury is also a Might-focused one. So, having it be tied to feats is probably the way I'm gonna go for the most part, but... yeah. But anyway, how many... How many feats do we want to give, and when do we want to give them? Because I feel like, obviously... Hang on. Oh, where do I fit this? I'm get... Ugh. Oh no. I'm going to have to make the chart. Oh. It's gonna have to... Oh no. Oh no. Oh. Oh, a bit too much. Oh, there we go. And then if I... This... Oh, a little too much. Oh, no! Oh, that's so cramped. Oh, what? Why have I opened that? I hope that didn't show any sensitive information or anything. Okay, that's a bit better. About the same amount as the average passives in Runa. Yeah, I mean, that seems fair. What do I... Insert column right. Yeah, feats. Let's call it total feats. Oh no, it's messed it all up again. I was hoping it wouldn't do that. Ugh. I'm not actually good with the formatting of this stuff. I'm just good at making what little I can do look good, if that makes sense. I do not actually know the tricks. I have just hodgepodged things together. Oh. Okay, well, it's gonna kind of thin out once I get rid of these little reminders. Okay. Boom. You are centered. Yeah. Total feats 1, 1, definitely. This level 3, you're getting an extra skill. Let's keep that at 1 as well. And let's get 1 at 4. That seems fair, right? Yeah. And then major improvement, definitely not 1 there. Well, Senna's going live. Cool. Anything in the Discord, by the way? I said I'd... Okay. There's... Rex has posted their idea for vengeful rework. I will look at that in more detail later. But that is not for this stream. Okay. Anyway. Honestly, at risk of copying D&D a bit more, let's just see how this works out, and then I'll actually look further into it, whether it works. Because I probably want more than that, but... yeah. Probably more than this, but... oh, well... if you're getting 1 from a major improvement, might work. 7 total by level 19. I don't know. Let's see. When do you get them? Get 1 at level 4. That's good. That doesn't have much. Get another 1 at level 8. That also... it has an extra skill, but at that point that's not as big of a deal. And also, getting a skill and a feat at once can help you capitalize on your feat or capitalize on your skill. So that's not an awful idea. Then your next one is at 12, which does have a minor improvement, but at this point minor improvements are less and less important each time. Diminishing returns and all that. I might remove like a rank 2 or something from there. Yeah, some of these might need adjustments still, but I think 7 feats, yeah, is a good point. It's a good amount. Solid, but not... you're not choosing too often. And then 1 at 16, that also seems like a fairly good spot. Yeah. There's gotta be some overlap with other good features, but... let it happen, I suppose. 1 at 19 is definitely good. So, I think we'll keep that. I think there'll be some other small adjustments I'll need to make to account for it, but I don't think it's the end of the world. We have been at this for an hour and a half, and we are making, I feel, good progress. We're talking sheet, base ego needs a little more love. Maybe? I could give more unique benefits than just another rank 2, another rank 2, another rank 3. I feel like I'll think about that a little more as I go on, rather than... because base ego is pretty spammable, honestly. It's not like incredibly spammable, but it is just a better version of your skills that, uh, yeah. But giving it more unique benefits might be a good idea. I'll just have to figure out a way to balance it in a way that feels right. Maybe some of the benefits would come at the cost of raising the emotion point cost or whatever. Maybe some of them would just be free if you want to keep it as is and just be a little weaker. Upgrades to base ego passives, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, go ahead and spitball your idea, Netherlord. Unique ego modules could be interesting. I don't know. Maybe also a way to give your ego attack weight. I do have in my working doc plans for attack weight unique skills that are set up in a way that I think it won't break the balancing, hopefully. Higher grade versions of base ego that represent getting more in tune with yourself. Yeah, essentially like manifestation. Yeah. Yeah. Change the quote that you say when you use the ego. That's one of the improvements. You just get to say a different quote. No other benefits. Okay. Yeah. The thing about upgrading base ego passives is I just don't want to make multiple versions of each passive, and also not every passive really is something that you could logically really worry about that, if that makes sense. Not all of them are scalable. Okay, let's see. So we've got this mostly figured out. Still needs adjustment. We've got ideas for each of the stat changes. And let's do ego benefits as just a question mark. Base ego scaling could be. I definitely need to make a lot more Zayn egos in that case. I would probably only scale it up to like he if I did that. Just because I'd want Vobs and above to be big, flashy to the point where I can't balance like that being custom. Okay. So, I do think I'm getting about ready to wrap things up, but I do want to see if there's anything else. Let's see, what did I write for here? Okay. I think, yeah, minor improvements might see a bit of a Yep. I might also get rid of some in the leveling chart now that we have feats. But they will be staying as a whole. Yeah. Zayn egos, definitely. That's something I've been trying to keep into account when making them. Attack weight is a big thing I've been trying to put on the few I have, except for Penitence, because Penitence has its own weird thing. Refreshing. Staying hydrated. One stat gains a +1 as a minor improvement. I feel like that would kind of step on the toes of some of the other options, though, since a lot of those are that sort of thing of, like, increase max light by 1 if your instinct is at the right point. Yeah. When the leveling chart and everything is done, yes, that will be 1.4. And then 1.5 will probably be a lot of, like, formatting changes and stuff. A lot of tidying up, stuff like that. Making, like, a formatting guide for myself and for anyone who wants to make their stuff look like vanilla. Rules on what to capitalize, I feel like I need, because it's a bit inconsistent. Yeah. Let's... There we go. Is that just about all I want? I think so. I might as well give you a few sneak peeks of stuff I've been working on, though. Let me bring up my working doc. Stream doc. These are my current ideas for just basic attack weight stuff. So these are unique skills. Very intentionally basic. Just a way to get some customizable attack weight skills without going overboard. So, they have a base. This should be costs 2. They have a base of 2. Are more or less just basic 2 cost bases, but with the ability to spend extra light, and obviously you're not getting the normal modules. So you're still getting a lot less customization with them in exchange for the option to use them with attack weight. Throwing some archetypes in, going from 0.4 to 0.5. Maybe. I feel like I'm good on the general idea of archetypes at the moment. I feel like I have enough of them. But if I do have any ideas, I will throw them in. Let's see, what else? These are 2 potential options for rank 3s I've been thinking of. One to explode your thorns to everyone, I showed that before. And another to use all your emotion points to do as much syncing as you can, if you want to. Just tons and tons of syncing in exchange for your emotion points that would be used for Big Ego. So, no idea if this actually feels good or not. Might be too unbalanced, but it surely has its use cases. Bleed. So I am thinking of moving Hemorrhage over to rank 3, and in exchange, I do have some extra bleed options in the works. One of which, let's see, Ego. Here is an Ego with a unique status that I will also probably put on a unique skill. So, yeah, Hemorrhage always felt like a rank 3 to me. I just put it in rank 2 because Bleed had very little. But if Bleed gets more support, Hemorrhage will be very strong as well. So moving that to rank 3 is probably the best bet. But Hex Nail inflicts nails, and nails increases bleed cap and prevents bleed from going away at the end of the scene. So, good bleed support. This will probably also be on a unique skill somewhere. It's not going to be on normal modules, I don't think, because it is a strong effect if you're really building around it. And N-Corp will have nails as well when I make more. That's kind of been what's keeping me from doing more. But I probably won't give them to, like, the Klein hammers, but the middle hammers and gross hammers will have those. Hopefully, hello, N-Corp. Yeah. So they'll have nail-focused abilities and stuff. So, yeah, essentially next turn bleed. It's kind of a way to keep bleed up without doing next turn bleed, because that can be a bit messy tracking. I've still not decided whether or not I'm committing to next turn stat buffs or not. It's on a few egos, but I want to keep it light if I can. Let's see. Anything else I want to tease? Nile, that's still in the works. Still need to find that special something. It was teased last time, and I can tease it again. I've made little to no progress. But I'll keep that up while I look for other stuff. Let's see. Oh, 2 new bases. One is a very unique one. Basically, you can make... I might get rid of the original command skills, because they're not super useful. But this is basically a way to make your own command skill that has no dice, but a lot of on-use effects. Really focus on getting on-uses out there. And then just a big block with a somewhat big hit afterwards. I don't know if this is too weak or not. Not sure. Yeah, block, oldest trick, essentially. Not a super exciting thing, but I feel like I'll see some neat builds that utilize it. I don't think it's probably not overpowered, probably doesn't have too much crazy stuff, because you can't stack the same effects, it has to be different ones. But just if you want the higher cost benefits, because, you know, cost restrictions still apply and all that. Yeah. Okay. And I think that's about it. There is one mechanic that was kind of teased in the change logs. I will say it's not quite the version... You know what? I'll just show it off, just so that I don't get, like, weird speculation or anything, disappointment. This is essentially... This one is an ego passive. Let me... There we go. But I was asked a lot about like shield HP and stuff, and after debating, I don't want it to be its own like dedicated mechanic. So instead, it's a unique boon. And it's just for hit points, I decided, not stagger. Yeah, more for going higher cost could be interesting. Like, yeah, cost +2 effects. More Shi association? Possibly. I might need to rework some of the old Shi associations slightly to account for changes in the system. But, yeah, more Shi could be interesting. Going to, like, more Ruina tier, high-level Shi. So, yeah. So Charge Barrier is definitely a little different. Barrier in general is just now a generalistic thing, even if it uses the Charge Barrier icon. Yeah, no Stagger Barrier, but Stagger, I think, will have a few of its own new management tools coming up, so... Yeah. Alright, well, I think that is about it. Let us... take this. Take this. The image will not carry over, so I'll need to do that again. Not archetypes. Oh. Okay, that's there. Let me... boom. Tears of the Tarnished Blood. You are boom. You are fixed position. Oh! Oh no. Let's make you small. Bit bigger than that. Boom. That should do it. Will this? Yep. Alright. And I forget. What did I do with... I think it was abnormalities, TAF. Did I? Yeah, I'm gonna give it this little disclaimer as well. Just because I feel like you guys were fairly helpful on this, gave me some good ideas. I think evades are good enough at stagger maintenance, just because they do still reduce stagger when you are hit, and help regain stagger if they go against block and stuff. So it's still pretty useful. Anyway, alright. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight. YouTube, as far as I'm aware, does not have rating capabilities. But if anyone's interested, I think Cinephon is continuing his playthrough of the collab event. So go onto Twitch and raid him. Hang on. Where is his Twitch? Oh. I'll link this in chat. Go say hi to him. So I will see you all, not tomorrow, but probably Tuesday. I think I'm gonna go with the funny tier lists idea for a stream. Yeah, it was fun to hang out with all of you, and I will see you Tuesday. Bye-bye.